Now it's telling your story. We talked about crafting your story and what you need to craft your story. Now it's telling your story. And this is really like, we learned this back in kindergarten, right? Like who, what, when, where, why. It's still relevant in conversations about your career when you're talking with people about what you're seeking, what you're, where you are, being able to have these questions answered before you go and have an exploratory conversation, before you meet with a mentor, before you meet with a sponsor, before you have a conversation with the manager. You know, most managers want you, if you're setting up a meeting, you need to have this, you should have thought about these before you scheduled time to speak with them. What is it that you need? Why? How? How are you going to get there? What are your roadblocks? That's how I can help you. And so I always pull this slide up because it's like the most common, easy thing to remember, but often the most forgotten when we're trying to really maneuver through our career. These questions are always still relevant. They may be asked to you in a different way that's not so straightforward, but if you've done your prep to understand these buckets, you're going to go into conversations more prepared. Make sense? Good. You can take a picture if you want to, or I'll send it to you so you have it. And so when you talk about telling your story, everyone always thinks about interview, or that's the place where most people get very nervous about making a lasting impression. But here are all of the many different places where telling your story and communicating who you are will be important. Team meetings, on social media, we talked about LinkedIn a little bit, but really any social platform. If you're someone who's interested in the digital space, Twitter, Instagram, all of that included as a part of how you communicate. Conferences is really big. Your professional development will continue to be huge. In the finance industry, conferences is very big. It's a big part of how people connect and meet and stay in the know about trends. And so you'll go to conferences and really you should be prepared with the who, what, when, where, why, and to tell your story, because you're going to be meeting with people from different industries, different sectors, who can be supportive to you in your next steps. Certainly the interview process, your resume, your cover letter, and then I put here, I had to, but like the informal things like family gatherings and community involvement and informal connections. You meet someone at the grocery store. All of those are places where your story, you should kind of have, we call it an elevator pitch, you should have your authentic summary of where you are and what you're desiring, because you never want to think that it's just one person or one group of people who can help you. Anyone, and we know that, you know, we know that in our community that anyone can help. And so you want to be open to understand what that means. Resilience is the key word in this. I won't go into it because it was so eloquently done in the first presentation, but you want to understand in the career process, it's not always going to be, and for many places it won't be peaches and cream. There will be detours, there will be roadblocks, there will be this process of getting to where you're ultimately meant to be, and resilience is the key word. The interview process will not always be easy. For many people, it's very difficult. Once you get into an organization, even at your dream job, do you think it's easy to go from, you know, analyst to manager to senior vice president to managing director? No, it's a process if that's what you're interested in. And being resilient, even if you're not promoted the first time you want to be promoted, or even if the first time you go in for your performance review, your compensation isn't what you want it to be, maybe there's something that you have to do to get there before. You stay at it, you stay persistent, you stay communicating what it is that you desire, and you understand that resilience is the key. And so I think it's really important to understand that in career conversations, resilience is like, if you don't talk about resilience, then I don't know that you're actually putting your all into your career, because everyone has their challenges going through their career. Michael Jordan basically said he missed like 9,000 shots, and then he finally, I mean, he's Michael Jordan. And so if Michael Jordan missed 9,000 shots and kept going and is this amazing dynamic representation of not just sports, but just a great athlete in general, for all of us, it's a reminder, you have to stay at it. The last phase of the presentation is evolving your story. And so it's basically this conversation on continuing to develop, continuing to build your skills. We won't do the poll today because of time, but I wanted to share, LinkedIn did a survey of 2,000 business executives and found out what most leaders seek in those who move on and advance. People think it's technical skills, and I mentioned that to you as a pitfall earlier, right? And then I came back to it here to tell you that it's interpersonal skills. So everyone says, oh, you need to work on, learn how to code, learn how to do a macro. Those are prerequisites. Everyone expects you to be able to do the job, but when it comes to moving to the next level, how you work and engage other people is actually the #1 factor that people are looking for. I've sat in conversations of promotions, people who get promoted to the highest level. And let me tell you, no one at the table is saying, oh, they can't do Excel, or oh, they weren't prepared for that pitch. They're talking about they don't work well with people, they treat the assistant like they're no one. It's the kind of things that have to do with human dignity. And so what are the 4 skills? Leadership, that's stepping up to the plate even when you're not asked.